When I started my business, I was doing a bunch of old school marketing techniques, knocking on doors, going to different businesses and asking for referrals, word of mouth, and stuff like that. But it wasn't something that was scalable. One of the biggest issues I had was generating leads. I'm not a big multi-million, multi-billion dollar company. I'm just me. Quality of leads wasn't the greatest, but the more I kind of fine-tuned things, my message, my delivery, as well as my target audience, it really exponentially increased the quality of leads. We can definitely tackle on more problems together rather than being a solopreneur. At the end of the day, it's a long game for me. It's about a legacy and leaving something behind.
Right, yo, Kevin, what is going on, my guy?
Good morning, Julian. How you doing, man?
I am doing good, man. Really good. I'm happy to hear that you are crushing it. Ads are crushing, leads are coming in. Man, it's really cool just to like see how far you've come. But real quick, can you let the audience know a little bit about who you are?
Yeah. I'm in the insurance space. I've been doing insurance since about 2016. Um, got my other licenses to do other insurance products like life and health, and then commercial and stuff like that, business insurance. But my niche is really auto insurance, and that's how I kind of started. Um, started getting into insurance, and I have such a big passion for cars and talking to different car owners and helping them solve their problems for their financial protection on their assets. And yeah, that's pretty much where my background is from 2016. I kind of bulldogged my way into management position in 2018. Um, Managed a couple different offices, led a small team of brokers, and trained a small team of brokers under me. And right around the end of 2020, I kind of put in my 2 weeks in. Loved what I did. I didn't like who I worked for, and so I ended up starting an LLC and in the middle of the pandemic, pretty much started this business, and it's been an uphill battle. Very humbling experience having to wear different hats, but I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's dope, man. And me and Kevin actually go like way back. Like we actually went to high school together, right? And we used to, we used to skate together and like freaking like dance and stuff. So
Yeah.
it's cool. I mean, obviously, like life happened, so we got disconnected through life, going to different schools and different careers and stuff.
Hmm.
But recently, we reconnected, right? Because you've been seeing the content that I've been putting out on like essentially like how to generate leads through content, right?
Correct.
So based on that, right? Why, like, what were you struggling with before we started to work together, and why did you decide to want to work with me?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, realistically, I had a lot of training with sales. That's my that's my strong point is sales. I love, talking to people, figuring out their problems and different solutions, and even just training other people under me to be able to do what I did. But one thing that I was not really trained on was marketing. And so when I started my business, I was doing a bunch of old school marketing techniques, knocking on doors, going to different businesses and asking for referrals, word of mouth and stuff like that. But it wasn't something that was scalable in a sense. And my biggest issue was trying to find a more consistent way to generate leads. And in the insurance space, you can pay for leads. A lot of the times that's garbage because a lot of these leads have already been gone through or already been sold to 10 or so different agents. Um, but I really wanted to have control over the whole system from leads to contact to quotes to sales, and then customer service and so on from that point. But one of the biggest issues I had was generating leads. So that's what really caught my attention with, um, some of the value that you were bringing, and to my attention through the ads.
Cool. And tell me, so like, So you're struggling with generating leads, right? Like you said, you used to do the old ways, like door knocking, dialing,
Mhm.
cold calling, buying
Right.
leads, and most of them were trash, right?
Mhm.
So what about my process stood out to you that made you say, let me see if Julian can actually like help me out?
Well, first and foremost, you were just a familiar face. So, I already had trust in that. But the real thing that kind of propelled me um, was all your case studies and all your all the people that you've already helped. And so it's something that I've kind of dabbled with, trying to run ads on my own and trying to watch YouTube videos and talk to other people and pick their brains and listen to other people and gurus and stuff like that. But a lot of it was fluff, to be honest with you. There was no real direction or real framework as to what I could accomplish. So there wasn't really any general direction. And I would, spend some money here and there on different ads and stuff like that with not really much, you know, much success. And I just didn't really know what I was doing. I was just spending money to learn. And I really needed some sort of direction. And that's where, you kind of came into play, was being able to provide that direction and seeing how other people, succeeded with your guidance and with your resources that you have to offer.
Nice, man. Now, fast forward to we're actually working together, right? Because you mentioned ads, and the
Mhm.
way you probably ran ads before is not how you're doing it now, right? So why don't we talk about that? Because I know like you don't have any type of content creation background,
Mhm.
right? So there was like a learning curve in the beginning. Like you had to figure out, okay, how to film yourself,
Mhm.
right? How to edit videos, right? Because the way that I market myself is through video content. Because I believe that's like the best way to become visible. You can build trust. People can see what you look like. They hear your voice. You can show up repeatedly rather than like a static post, right? So
Right.
what was that process like for you in like learning how to do that and to actually like implement it?
So I mean, the process was definitely a big learning curve, but it was very it was very humbling to say the least. Just being able to kind of step back and kind of strip away the different ideas and theories that I had about marketing from what I was trying to do with my sense of direction or lack of, and to be able to just listen and just to take that leap of faith and to try something new that that I've never done before. Originally I didn't, I'm not too big on being in front of a camera or being a um, figure of authority or having a personal brand, but just having that initial conversation with you, the onboarding calls, and that initial meeting that we had, it really opened my eyes on the importance of being personable and being a brand of authority for for other people to be able to trust you. um and so I was really focused on branding my business and having my business as the face of of at the ads and trying to generate leads that way. But being more personal, I feel like, is something that's very important. I mean, you see other insurance companies, they, their idea of being more personal is using like a mascot, right?
Like
You
flow
see,
or something.
right, exactly, or the gecko. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so that's their way of humanizing that interaction with clients and their branding and their ads. And as cheesy as it is, it works on a big scale. But something that I don't have is I'm not a big multi-million, multi-billion dollar company. I'm just me, right? And so being able to put myself out there was very nerve wracking in a sense. But at the same time, I'm very passionate about what I do and how I can help people. And I think that's what really drove me to just put myself out there regardless.
Yeah, because the difference is like when you're building that authority, putting content out there, right?
Mhm.
Versus door knocking, cold calling. It's like instead of it being like a one-to-one interaction, it's one to many,
One to
right?
many. Yeah, I
So
think
like
Alex Hormozy talked about that too. Yeah,
exactly. So like one piece of content can reach many people at once, right?
absolutely.
That
Yeah.
allows you to, because it's
Scale.
all about people liking you, knowing you, and trusting you, right?
Hmm.
And the more people you do that with, the more money you're gonna make. It's really that simple. It's like if 1,000 more people knew about you and what you did, don't you think you'd make more money?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's so much more efficient and so much more scalable. And originally it is a little bit less personable than doing things in person, but being that figure of authority and having yourself as that face definitely increases your credibility.
For sure. So let's talk about the leads that have came from it, right?
Mhm.
So far, because we're still like in the middle of it, right? But so far, you've gotten like essentially like a 5x ROI versus what
Yeah.
you spent and the leads that you've gone from that. So tell me about that whole process. Like, number one, how are the quality of leads coming? Like, are they quality? Number two, like, how are the conversations going? Right. And number three, what has that process been like for you to actually put content out there, to turn on ads, and to start booking calls that way?
Okay. So, can you repeat that again? So, quality leads.
Yeah. So, like, because a lot of people will be like, oh, well, I ran ads before, but the quality sucks. Right. So, like,
Right.
are you actually reaching people who can actually buy your service?
Uh-huh. Yeah. So that's a good question. Let's start there. So, I mean, just finding the quality of leads. I think the message and the framework that you gave me to relay my message really dialed in. Um, warmer leads, clients that were really looking at using what I have to offer as a solution, really helped out a lot. Now, obviously, there's a learning curve with everything, and so, um, at first the quality of leads wasn't the greatest, but the more I kind of fine tune things, my message, my delivery, as well as my target audience, it really exponentially increased the quality of leads. Second thing that I think you asked was the conversations. So I mean, just like with everything, that was also a learning curve. Um, just trying to figure out my own script and reverse engineering every single conversation and every single touch point I've had with my client to be able to figure out what is going to engage the client more, what is going to um, what is going to what do I have to say to be able to get the information out of them that I need to get and to gain their trust in order to help them solve their problems. And it's a lot easier for people to ghost you on social media versus in person, right? If you're in person, I have a much higher close rate than on the phone or on messaging. But just being able to kind of reverse engineer that, getting over that learning curve is definitely increased a lot. And so just getting my reps in, that has definitely helped. And then what was the last one that you were asking again?
So essentially, the amount of no, so the booked calls, right? So like how many of those have you actually like started booking? Because initially it was all, like I said, organic referrals, right? But
Right.
now you have a combination of like leads coming in that you're generating by yourself. So how has that been?
So it's been really good. The book calls have been very successful. I mean, once I gather the basic information from them, um, I'll definitely get them on the phone because from the phone I have a much higher close rate. If I can get them on the phone to talk to them, explain them things, as well as ask questions about their problems, and then answer any concerns that they have. So once I get them on the phone, the close rate is definitely a lot higher. And so it's yeah, the type of calls that I've been getting have been very effective just from the ads themselves.
Love to hear it, man. And now you're on pace to have like a record month, right?
Correct. Yeah. Yeah.
So tell me about that. Like, what does that feel like? Because it's currently September 18th, and there's, I think, like 12 days left in the month. And you said you're 2 deals away from it being a record month.
Right. So, I mean, I've just throughout the pandemic and just not really knowing much about marketing, my business barely had a heartbeat. And just looking at the numbers from last year to this year, uh, such a huge improvement. But not just that, um, also having you as a mentor from June, like the middle of the year to now, it's also filling up a different type of bucket that I've been trying to um trying to squeeze out as much as I can. And yeah, just being able to ride that momentum and keep uh just keep that focus as far as, having the record month is really exciting. Not just for um not just for myself, but also as far as scaling the business to be able to also bring in other people to bring jobs to them and to help solve more problems that people have with their insurance is definitely something that's much more attainable now that I am seeing so much growth.
Nice, man. Let's go back to like the mentorship part. Like,
Yeah.
as soon as we started connecting on this level,
Mhm.
right away, I felt like something like shifted in you, like momentum started. So tell me about like that process of like having like my help and also help of the community too, because energy transfers, right? So
Absolutely.
tell me how
Absolutely.
that part has like helped you succeed.
Yeah. So, in the beginning, I was very anxious, to be honest with you. It was a big leap of faith for me to be able to put my foot forward and to open about my business problems. Um, it's something that I don't really talk to many people about. And when we got on that call, um, you really opened my eyes on the possibilities that, that this could take me. And not just that, but having other business owners or people that are self-employed, going through the same thing with me, having to put their best foot forward also just makes me feel so much better that I'm not alone in this situation. Having that community, having other people to sharpen each other, and to fall back on each other when we have problems, to look within one another to find the answers to our problems and solutions as well, has really helped a lot. And energy does transfer. And just having us hold each other accountable in our community and saying, hey, we're not alone. um we're in this together, no matter what type of problems we're dealing with. We're definitely a wealth of information, and we can definitely tackle on more problems together rather than being a solopreneur. I think I think I mentioned this about like Mr. Beast on YouTube, how when he was starting out YouTube, him and a group of friends were um they were very dedicated to the craft on going viral on YouTube. And what they did was they worked together to do as many trial and errors as they could. But together, they learned exponentially more than if they were to go on that journey alone. And so I think strength in numbers has definitely been something that has, uh, been beneficial to not just myself, but to everybody in our community as well.
Yeah, it's like we're like a big brain, you know? It's like a big brain. We're all like learning from each other and being inspired and, taking information. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and for me, it's like I love that part. I like because I get inspired. I learn things too. And it's like just going at it alone, you have no one to bounce ideas off of, right?
Right.
And you also
Right.
don't know if things are actually working. But when you see it working for other people, it's like, oh snap, it actually works. Let me just like do the implementation of it.
Right. Or it helps you also stick with things. Like if it doesn't work originally, then you're actually convinced that it does work because somebody in our group did it and it worked for them. Maybe you just got to tweak a couple things. So that's always something that you could run by them, and it kind of eliminates that second guess, where if something doesn't go your way right away, then you sometimes you quit and try to something else. But if you see people that have used it and done success with it, it's definitely something that kind of gives you more conviction to move forward with a little bit more confidence for sure.
Yeah, and tell me about, because we are just talking about like, give a man to fish, you can eat for a day, teach him to fish, you can eat for a lifetime. So
Yeah,
tell me about like the importance of like learning how to fish as like a business owner, because a lot of business owners will just hire like a marketing agency
right,
and then they may not get the results that they want, or they don't even know how to track results or see what's actually happening.
right.
But with the way we do it, you're learning how to do it yourself. All
Mhm.
right, so tell me about that part. Like how has that been for you?
It's been an amazing journey. And I think we talked about it on our first onboarding call. Um, why do I want to do this when I could just pay somebody to do it? And that quote really hits home. You give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, and if you teach a man to fish, you feed him for life. And so, what I really wanted to know and learn was how to market and run ads, and how to create videos where I can get my message across to many people. Um, and that's something that I just didn't know how to do, and it's something that I really wanted to know how to do with myself. Um, I don't have a videography background. I'm complete amateur. I'm doing everything on my cell phone. Buying these cheapo microphones off of Amazon. I don't even have a teleprompter. I use my laptop, zoom in, and I use a wireless mouse to kind of scroll up and down as my teleprompter. You got to do with what you got. Work with what you got and make the best of it. And I know I'm not a professional at it, but being able to learn and just kind of tag along on that journey is it just feels so much more powerful in having that knowledge and confidence in what to look for. So now, if even in the future, if I do want to hire somebody, because I know I'm not the best at marketing, I know there's a lot more people like yourself that know more about it than I do, and know how to do things better than I do. It's not my expertise or my forte, but at least I know enough now to kind of track and see what direction, if I do hire somebody, what direction they're going and what direction to steer them in, um, in order to get the results that I want. And so I think that's very important to, you know, to to learn that skill in and of itself, and to carry that with me for the rest of my life.
Exactly, like because the two most important skills to have are marketing and sales, right? And those are the two, like you already were good at sales, now you're getting the marketing down, right? And now once you continue to scale upward, then you can like build your team and hire people to fill those positions, right? And now you can know if they're doing a good job or not. And you can train them.
Absolutely.
And it's like, hey, I want you to be better than me, but you got to at least know the basics, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so hard to kind of tell people what to do, especially if you don't understand the nuance of that journey in and of itself. But if you've kind of been there and dabbled a little bit and know just enough, it's people are more willing to listen to you, and you can kind of collaborate more with people on your team on in that sense.
Yeah. So tell me this, because obviously, like having a record month means more money for you, right?
Yeah.
But I want to know, like, what has this done for your life personally? Like, how has it helped you? Because I know you're getting healthier too. I know you're spending more time with your kids and your wife too. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so I mean, it's so much more than just the money. I could care less about making more money. A matter of fact, I pay myself the same, and the profits that I'm making, I just reinvest right into the business again. Um, at the end of the day, it's a long game for me. It's about a legacy and leaving something behind, and being more than just a resource for people to help, but also in the future, I'm looking at scaling to create more jobs and bring value that way to other families, so that way they can do what I do to help others even more. Um, yeah, and I think being in this group, in this community, has definitely pushed me to be the best that I can be, especially in days where I don't feel like being the best version of myself. Um, just holding myself accountable, and really leaning on one another, especially especially when we're having tough times, trying to figure a problem out, or trying to come up with a different solution, or just even just feeling icky about the day. um it's definitely helped me a lot. I think we also kind of touched up on being fit, and bringing physical fitness into this as well. And so you know I kind of started on the 75 hard challenge. I'm a little bit in the middle of it right now. But out of nowhere, other people in our group were also talking about, hey, let's start a 75 hard challenge, and let's kind of hold each other accountable. I'm like, man, I've tried this like 2 or 3 times and I've completely just threw it out the window. But now having that accountability and having somebody next to you that's going through that, um, we're all getting it out the mud, you know what I mean? And so we're all in the thick of things, just really wading through water and holding each other up and being accountable. And it's more than just looking good. I think it's about feeling good, you know what I mean? Like, physically, I feel so much better. I've lost a little bit of weight. I have more energy. I'm able to
Bro,
play
you've
with my
lost more than a little weight.
Yeah, I was at my heaviest a few months ago, and I the thing that helped me was not just going at it right away, but I kind of started easing into it. Like, I had already changed up my diet a little bit, started doing a little bit more physical activity, but the 75 hard was really the nail in the coffin to end a lot of my bad habits. And
And you said you're down 20 pounds?
yeah, I embarrassingly enough, yeah, I'm down 20 pounds and counting. And it's more than just than, like I said, than just looks. I could care less about looks or making more money, but being able to fit the clothes that I'm like, man, I don't want to change my wardrobe up, because that's just accepting defeat. And being able to fit comfortably in my old clothes again has really, it just it feels good to be able to be back in that mindset and that body.
That's
And
awesome, man.
yeah, to be able to respect myself enough to have that discipline.
Yeah, me too. Because right before my baby was born, I was in really good shape, and I was like, I'm not gonna have a dad bod. So I bought all these freaking medium and larges, like
Yeah.
mediums. And then that's 3 months in, I'm like, okay, I can really fit this stuff. So now it's
Yeah.
about I bought these clothes, I need to be able to fit them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But so what would you say has been like the biggest lesson that you've learned since we started working together?
The biggest lesson, that's a tough one. That's a really tough question. I like that question though. Have faith. I think that's one of the biggest lessons I've had, is to have faith. I was very closed off on my business problems. Didn't I was very protective about my business. It was barely hanging on by a thread, and barely had a heartbeat. But being able to open up to you and have faith in your process, and have faith in everyone else that's going through the same journey, similar journey that I am, even though it's a different, business. Um, just being able to have faith is a big lesson that I definitely had to relearn, and that's something that is strengthened, myself in just being able to put my best foot forward, and just keep going, and keep trudging along. I think I want to share this quote real quick. I shared it with the group as well. It's by Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., and it goes a little something like this: If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, keep moving forward. And that really resonates with me, just being able to have faith in put my best foot forward and keep on going regardless of what's in front of me.
Man, that's an awesome life model right there. And obviously, like, it's easier said than done too,
Mhm.
because real life happens. Self
Absolutely.
doubt is real. Limiting beliefs is real. But this is why, even though sometimes I feel uncomfortable doing it, I'll always talk about money and things like that in my content because I know it'll reach the person that needs to,
Right.
right? Because there's certain things that like we don't always feel comfortable talking about,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's kind of like poison, right? So, like, let's say you're bit by a snake or a spider. If that poison stays in you, you're gonna die. It needs to
Right.
come out. It needs to ooze out. So
Hmm.
when you like release those things, you actually talk about your problems. You talk about the income struggles you're having. You talk about your goals.
Right.
Then it's going to number one, inside, you're gonna have relief. It's like,
Hmm.
I actually let it out. But also you're gonna speak it into existence too.
Absolutely.
Right. So it's
Yeah.
like a twofold thing. Like you have to talk about it, and you'd never know who you could inspire by also talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. Yeah, talking about money has been, for the most part in our culture is very taboo, especially in recent years. But I know more people have been starting to open up about it. Money shouldn't be taboo. It shouldn't be a taboo subject to talk about. Obviously, people want to stay private, and that's fine. Um, but it can be used as a tool to help others as well. Obviously, just like anything else, it could be used for bad or it could be used for good. But being able to educate and talk about it, I think has definitely helped others kind of realize, especially others that are in the similar situations, that you can get through your problems as well and really succeed. Especially if you talk out your problems and kind of lay it out and create a framework and a plan to be able to move forward and have that faith to try something new.
Love it, bro. So last question,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
What would be your advice to someone who is in the exact position you were before we started to work together, right? Like when you were like really thinking about it, like, should I make this jump? Should I make this leap?
Yeah.
What would be your advice to that person?
Uh, my advice, have some faith, have some faith. Because, it's very easy to, be closed minded and to stay in your ways, but be open minded and just try something new, and I think that's one of the biggest things that I can tell people that are on the fence about starting their journey of betterment and improvement. You can't change your life where it is right now until you move forward and you keep trying something different until it works, right? You can be wrong 99 times out of 100, but all it takes is that one time um, to really make it work, and yeah, I think have some faith. And yeah, I think having some faith to be open minded and to try something new, um, as well as have some skin in the game, because obviously if you don't have skin in the game, there's not much for you to risk, which put on the line, I guess you could say. And so being well invested into something new really puts things to the forefront of your brain and really prioritizes things to do the best and push through some of the limiting beliefs that you have.
Love it, bro. Yeah, it has to pinch a little,
It
like
does.
it has to pinch a little to keep you alert and to make sure that you actually do the work, right?
Absolutely.
Like if it
But
was like if it didn't pinch, if it didn't hurt, if it was like a few bucks, it's like okay, whatever. But if
yeah.
it when it's
Mhm.
like something that's like a higher investment, just like you have to think about it. But once you make the decision, don't let it go to waste.
Absolutely.
It has to
And it
pinch.
yeah, and the success tastes so much more better too.
Yeah.
It's that much sweeter. So
It's like, okay, I made a huge bet and it's paying off.
right, right, absolutely. And that really kind of pushes you to put in that work. Probably, a little bit more than what you would have.
Yeah, and it helps your confidence. Like now it's like, oh, okay, I can make a good decision.
Hmm. Yeah.
Well, Kevin, thank you, brother. Very excited to see where you're at now and where you're going to go because this is just phase one.
Yeah, that's just the beginning.
Phase one. You got some stuff cooking for the Sacramento market too.
Yes,
So
sir.
it's time to really level up.
Yes, sir. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what else is coming up with you too.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kevin. And thank you guys for watching. Peace
All
out.
right.